We're here today with Mark Jaccard to discuss topics from his latest book, The Citizen's Guide to Climate Success. The topic we'll be covering today is the zero-emission vehicle mandate. Mark, climate-concerned citizens often hear the term zero-emission vehicle mandate, or short, the ZEV mandate, and you talk about it in your book. Yet few people know really what the zero-emission vehicle mandate is. Can you please explain?
Sure, and I think you're right. The zero-emission vehicle mandate requires a minimum percentage of vehicle sales of a certain type of vehicle, one that we classify as zero-emission. So this would be electric vehicles that are becoming more popular, but even hydrogen fuel cell vehicles that are just starting to appear in the market. Now, the ZEV requirement grows over time. So the stringency might be, in the next few years, 10% of sales, but we want that to climb up to 30, 40, hopefully eventually 100. And by doing it gradually, this gives automakers and consumers time to adjust to these new norms and to get familiar with and to develop new models, to shift auto production lines, and also for us to develop recharging for electric vehicles like we're doing now, and even refueling perhaps for hydrogen. So it allows for this gradual transition.
Sometimes people refer to the ZEV mandate as a flexible regulation. Can you tell us why?
Well, it's a regulation that doesn't specify a particular technological outcome. Like right now we say, maybe it'll be electric vehicles that dominate, or maybe hydrogen vehicles, or maybe something else that we don't even know about yet. So this flexibility enables automakers and buyers to determine what for them is the best path to a ZEV type vehicle stock based on the consumer preferences, this combination of consumer preferences and technological capabilities. And also, it will probably enable us to do this at the lowest possible cost because people will be picking the lowest cost options, and that'll force manufacturers to compete, innovate, and develop these. And that's that flexibility that gives us the cheapest path to a ZEV stock of vehicles.
So would you say that the ZEV mandate is a better policy than alternatives, which to phase out gasoline and diesel vehicles?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily better. We have an incredible mix of policies in some jurisdictions, as many as 4. There are biofuel mandates, which require that we blend more ethanol into gasoline or biodiesel into diesel. There are subsidies that some governments give to people when they buy an electric car. There's carbon pricing. Some governments have put in carbon taxes, or they have a system of cap and trade, it's called. I won't go into the details of that, but that also puts a price on carbon. And we even have other types of flexible regulations on fuels and energy, something called the Low Carbon Fuel Standard in California and British Columbia, for example. So these policies are all a bit different, working on cars or fuels, energy, and they can be used individually, or they can well be used together. We've got mixes of these policies in Canada. Now, economists prefer carbon pricing because they say that has the most flexibility of all, and therefore, for reasons I already stated, will be the cheapest way to decarbonize the vehicles. But the ZEV mandate is not dramatically different if we're trying to go to complete phase-out of gasoline and diesel vehicles, because it too, as I said, does not pick technology winners and lets consumers decide. We've seen throughout the world, when governments try to put in carbon pricing and increase it even just a little bit sometimes, there can be a really strong public reaction. And flexible regulations like the ZEV mandate don't seem to get that same kind of reaction. So it requires vehicle sellers, to marginally raise the price of higher polluting vehicles because they need that money to lower the price of the electric vehicles that they're trying to get more people to buy. And so the policy kind of nicely has a subsidy between different customer groups and uses that as a way to sell more zero-emission vehicles instead of a carbon tax that is less acceptable in some cases.